But right now it's time for our monthly Vision Talk chat. And sitting across from me in the studio is Vision Rehab professional for Vision Bermuda, Theresa McMordie. So nice to have Theresa join us once a month. And our special guest is a client of Theresa's, Joanne Thain. And we're going to discuss the pros and cons of navigating around Bermuda using a white cane, which, of course, is the way most people with vision impairment get around. So I don't know how you're feeling, Joanne, but I thought you did great navigating into our studio. So I think you're well on the way of getting it down. Do you feel good sitting there, honey?
I feel very good. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. So, Theresa, this is a bit of a specialty of yours, and I know that with a lot of your clients, this is the road they're taking, whether they have deteriorating sight or they just have lost enough that they really should have something as a guide. I remember who was our handsome young man that came up here?
Oh, Nick.
Nick.
Not that I would, of course,
Listen,
I would notice.
of course you noticed it. We all noticed it. But anyway, Nick was reluctant at first. He said, I tripped over a lot of stuff before I learned to walk with the white cane. So, Joanne, welcome, and welcome to Vision Talk.
You're very welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Good. So, Theresa, let's just talk a little bit about Joanne, maybe her specific case and how you guys are getting along.
Well, Joanne came to me for a little bit of extra long cane training. Joanne has had some training in the past.
Okay.
In Canada, is that right, Joanne?
That's right, yes.
Yes, and well, really, you were looking for a new cane at the time, weren't you? Isn't it funny how I forget? I should never forget these things. Yes, you were looking for a new long cane at the time.
That's correct.
And we were just having a chat, and then we realised that actually Joanne was ready for the next part of her training.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so that's how we've hooked up. And so yeah, I'll let Joanne tell you her story.
Sure. So I had the privilege of living in Ontario, Canada for the last 10 years. I am a Bermudian that's recently moved back. And during my time there in Ontario, I got used to using a cane. And the interesting thing about cane use is that it's progressive.
Sure. Okay. You have to start with the novice and then you work your way up, right?
That's right. Well, what happened was when we first moved to North America, I had never used a cane.
Okay.
And what happened? We were actually living in Florida at the time, and what happened was someone, just a kind of a friend, said to me, "Hey, you really should maybe consider getting a cane because people don't really understand to look at you, that you have vision loss, and then they see you stumbling around, and they wonder what's going on. It's better to be identified,
as someone
and then
with
people
vision
will know
impairment.
how to help you.
Yeah,
and they won't think that you're drunk or something.
Oh gosh,
Which
heaven forbid, but I'm sure that could have happened
a
few times in the middle of the day. Yes.
So I started off with the skinniest, a very skinny cane, which doesn't give much support.
Sure.
It's just to identify that you have is a very like almost pencil thin.
Yes,
So there's something in front of you.
A symbol cane.
A symbol cane.
Yeah.
I started off with that, and that was great. And immediately I said, "Oh, great!" People started to treat me differently, open doors for me. Realized that, oh yes, okay, this person might need some assistance, so on and so forth. So that was great. But then, as time went on, and when we moved from Florida to Ontario, I began to notice that the identity cane wasn't giving enough support to be able to navigate over sidewalks.
A little bit more of a cityscape that you were dealing with, maybe?
Exactly.
Got you.
And just being able to identify the difference between the pavement and the grass.
And the
so
tarmac and
the
everything
tarmac
else.
and that sort of thing. Because my vision loss is such that I don't have very good peripheral vision.
Okay, gotcha.
So most people, when they look straight ahead, I think, as I've been told, they can look down and they see their feet.
Sure.
At this time, for me, unless there's a miracle happening, I cannot see my feet.
Can't see what your feet are doing.
No.
Okay.
Not right now. So anyway, so cut a long story short, the cane, so I graduated up to a cane that can be used to identify when I'm getting to the end of the sidewalk and that sort of thing. Now,
That's a guide cane.
And that's a guide
I'll just
cane.
explain. So a symbol cane is something that you hold across your body as
Okay.
an identify. And then a guide cane is a cane that will touch the floor, but it's not a long cane. So it's in between the symbol and the
gotcha.
long cane.
Because I can remember watching folk here with vision loss that some were quite well known. Jean Howes was a very well known one here.
Yes.
And she had a guide dog and stuff too, but often you see people will tap across the front of their body, just tap, 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 tap back and forth.
Now
With a very lightweight cane, it seemed.
Yeah, that's a different way of travel, and that's 2-point touch, which is to me the most beautiful way of watching somebody use a long cane.
Sure, okay.
But you would start off by using the long cane with the rollerball on the end to begin with, and with our with our roads here,
sure,
and sidewalks and things, a 2-point touch isn't something that I'd really teach somebody unless they really want to use it, because we've got
so many little dips and
I'd
divots.
rather you said that than me.
Dips and divots and hazards. Yeah. I mean, our terrain and our city terrain, even with the amount of foliage and stuff we have in the city and the things going on, you do end up with raised paving stones and cracks and things like that in the sidewalk. And of course, our hardworking city engineers right now are just trying to catch up, and get things done right now. So, but keep going and tell us a little bit more, Joanne, about your relationship now with Theresa. Now you're learning with the new cane and everything else.
So time went on, and I should explain that in Canada. Where I was in Ontario, I was involved with the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, CNIB.
Nice. Okay.
And they have, of course, Canada having a population of 35 million.
Sure.
And in Ontario, there's a couple million.
Mm-hmm.
They have experts for everything. There isn't just one Theresa, there's 4 or 5.
It's nice to have many
That's
Theresas.
Right. and not only that, the person I saw only focused on cane training.
Okay.
There were other people who do other things, not like a one-man shop like Theresa is.
Theresa does it all.
We need more Theresas in Bermuda.
Yes.
But basically, getting to the point, we got to Bermuda. I came back to Bermuda to live with my family, and I noticed that my cane was getting worn out. Now, when I was living in Ontario, every year, the mobility specialist would come and visit me, and she would give me a new ball for my cane. Because what happens with people with vision loss, the ball on the bottom of your cane wears out.
Sure. And
you have to get a new one every year. So
because you're putting a lot of miles in, aren't you?
That's right. And so this lady would come, and she would give me a new, fix up my cane.
Sure.
Anyway, so I'm now living in Bermuda, and I said, oh my goodness, what do I do now? And I thought, well, maybe, I thought about ordering on Amazon. I said, no, I don't know what I'm doing. I need to see an expert like I did in Canada. And so I got reacquainted and was pleasantly surprised how progressive and how Vision Bermuda has really moved along.
Sure. I'm sure from the first time back in the day when you were in
just
Bermuda.
Making baskets. No, it's very progressive now. It's up to date. I would say it's on par with CNIB, except for the fact they don't have enough Theresas.
Enough manpower is the thing. We're working on that part.
So, yeah. But anyway, getting to the point quickly. So anyway, therefore I made an appointment to see Theresa. And she immediately, when she saw my cane, she says, oh my goodness. Ever so nicely, because she's very sweet. She said, I don't think you're using the right cane for where you are now with your vision journey.
Sure.
You're using a guide cane, and you really need, I don't know what the right word is.
A long
cane.
Okay.
Yeah. And she explained why. You could probably explain more in the proper language.
Sure. With a guide cane, you're tapping really ahead of you, not tapping the floor, but it's a guide to find out if there's any steps or, you're about to go into a bin or anything. That sort of
anything
thing.
That's in your path, right?
And I don't personally really like guide canes, and that the reason being is that when the person, like Joanne did, really, start to need a long cane, they start to bend their bodies so that the cane is touching the ground and they're pushing it in front of them.
Got you.
And whereas I want a nice straight back, I want a nice long cane that's going to give you a good step and a half, 2 steps ahead of you, depending
Sure.
on your stride,
Uh-huh.
so that you're going to locate. And also the cane goes from side to side and not just pushed out in front of you like you might do with a guide cane.
Got you.
So yes, it was when I noticed how Joanne was using it, I was wondering how I put this politely.
Let
she
me
was
help
ready
you
for
with
a
that.
long cane. Yes. So we did. That's exactly what I did. I mean, I love working with Joanne. I mean, I love working with all my clients, but
Sure.
I'm loving working with Joanne too.
Uh-huh.
And so so it was a case of working together, because to begin with, Joanne was saying, well, no, I think this is the right size for me. And then once I gave her the correct length cane, and we worked with that, you realised very quickly, didn't you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because having, I would think so, as we all get older too, that having to be stooped forward is, and especially being vision impaired, that's not very good for your balance.
Exactly.
Perhaps.
Absolutely.
And your recovery, if you should bump into something, could be much better, I think, if you're more upright and you have a little bit more distance, like you said, of a warning
Yes.
with the long cane that you wouldn't have with the other one. The more, you stand upright, the better your center of gravity is, and the better your balance would be, I would think. Yeah. So, like I said, you navigated into our building pretty well there. How's it been going? How long have you been back on the island, if you don't mind me asking, Joe?
It would be, let me see now, 2021. So it's been about 2 years
Almost
now.
2 years now.
Yes.
And did you come back? I mean, obviously, you say you have family here. You came back to stay with family. Were you back and forth between your living overseas and coming back to visit or anything like that? And do you feel like you lost familiarity with that you did have in your younger years, perhaps? Or is it all sort of coming back now because you've got...
I would say in many ways it's coming back. And in fact, if we bring it to cane use, Theresa, who's a wonderful teacher, smiles at me because the way I use the cane, to use a cane properly, you have to do like a sweeping motion.
Gotcha.
Along the ground in front of you, almost like you're sweeping the ground in front of you.
Okay.
Navigating the ground before you walk there. But I'm so familiar with certain streets in Bermuda that Theresa says, I just pushed the cane in front of me.
Okay. It's like you've
And
been
I
here
don't really
before.
do the sweeping motion because
Okay.
I'm so used to the streets.
You're familiar.
Yes,
Yeah. Well,
that's
and
on-
that's a good thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Well, no, I really should sweep all the time because you never know if there's a hazard. And this, unfortunately, has happened to me. If there is a hazard you're unaware of,
Gotcha.
you can injure yourself.
Yeah.
And I have had a minor injury from
Bumping into something.
not
Gotcha.
because of, I would say, probably partially due to poor cane use. I have to see, I'm being honest. But I'm humble. However, the other thing about Bermuda that has changed significantly is where things are located because of the changing economy and shops closing, shops opening, COVID. I missed most of COVID because I was away for it, but
Sure.
that's a bit of a challenge to know where new things are.
You're learning new places.
Yeah. So that's not necessarily cane use. That's just a general
Becoming familiar
factor,
again. Yeah.
being familiar with the island and where things are. Yeah.
How about transportation and getting around? Mrs. House was often on the bus with her guide dog, and I do know, I used to see Walday on the bus all the time. I don't see him getting out much anymore. But is that the way that you travel, or do you travel with family, or how have you found that since being back on the island?
A mix. I have 2 family members that drive, my husband and my daughter. But when they're not available, I take the bus.
Okay.
And I have always, I have to admit, I love the bus.
Sure.
I've always taken the
And
bus.
we have nice, quiet, air-conditioned ones
Yes,
now.
they're
How cool
nice.
is that?
Yes. And they also, too, I find, putting, we've heard a lot of down things about the bus, but I'm going to
Sure.
say something positive. Our buses are clean.
Yes, they are. For
When
sure.
you go in them, they are clean. And the air blows through them. So,
Sure.
and usually when I get on the bus, immediately they allow me to sit in the front. They do have the accessibility seats at
Sure.
the front.
Sure.
And I usually can get one.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
so-
you said, people are aware of your vision impairment because you're walking with your cane and stuff. And I think for the most part, most people are very empathetic to what you're dealing with. You really don't need their sympathy because you're quite capable, but they are empathetic with what you're dealing with. And even if someone has had that seat, they'll get up and offer it to you.
Yes.
You know, because that just seems to be our culture here, I think, which is a good thing.
So in that sense, it's good. And if I could, since I'm on the open airways here, I
Sure.
would behoove, please keep the buses running.
Yes. Yes. We
have
will
had an
keep them
issue.
running. We have had issues.
We have had issues, and I know, gotta keep there are people here who are vulnerable, like myself.
Depend on it.
And
Yeah.
That's our only form of transportation.
Sure.
And
yeah.
in the last few weeks with the pouring rain, I was still on the bus.
Gotcha.
So it's important to get those buses fixed and keep them going.
For sure, yeah, and hopefully they'll sort out the gremlins that have come up with our new bus system,
exactly.
like with anything, and make sure that the routes are covered and staffed correctly for those that need it.
And
Now,
they're important to Joanne because she actually works too.
sure, I was just going to
so
say you have to get back and forth from some gainful
gets to
employment.
Yes.
What is it that you do, Joanne? If you don't mind sharing with us.
I would rather.
Okay, you don't have to
Yes,
if you don't want to.
Yeah.
But it's great that you've become so competent in what you do.
Yes.
That you can continue to be fulfilled with something. That's,
Yes.
What I did love is, I can say, doing some work on the computer admin is
Sure.
that Joanne knew that to be able to go back to work, she needed to invest in the software herself.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's where, I'm in awe of Joanne, because she knew that she needed to, be able to use software competently.
Yeah.
So she taught herself.
Yeah, and we've also got the wonderful Phyllis who teaches people those things too, right?
Yes.
Doesn't she? When you get it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, did you find that made all the difference for
Oh,
you,
yes,
Joanne?
very much so. But I have been using assistive technology for many, many years. I've
Gotcha.
actually, before we left to move to Canada, I had worked gainfully in Bermuda for almost 20 years.
Gotcha. Okay.
And using assistive technology. So it is possible. And now the technology is even better than it was before, in that I use something called Zoom Text, which actually now will even speaks to you. It's beautiful. Even as you're typing, it will talk to you, and
tell you what you're typing.
Great.
Yeah,
yes,
that is great. Talk to text and things like that. Talk to type, and screen reader and things like that. That tells you what's in front of you. You know, all of that is wonderful, and it's great that admin and people developing software packages understand that this is an essential thing for people who are vision impaired. That's wonderful.
Yes, and I'm aiming to have a copy of Zoom Text and Supernova when we open as well.
Gotcha.
In our IT.
Gotcha.
So that people can come along and have a look. I'm in the middle of setting up something with Supernova, actually being a friend of Supernova.
Okay.
And so we'll have a few free licenses that way too, so that people can come in and have a look and see
And
if it's
learn
any good
what they do.
for them, if it works for them. And also I'm hoping to do similar with Zoom Text. And yes, and so our IT suite hopefully will be really good and beneficial for people to come and have a look and see what software works
And
for
I
them.
would think it's very empowering at the end of the day.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yes. and that's what you want. And since have you found going through what you go through in life every day, Joanne, that if you ever run into any other folk that have dealt with deteriorating sight or have just had a recent diagnosis, do you find people perhaps wanting to talk to someone who's conquered a few things like you have? I know being a cancer survivor that sometimes if I meet up with people who have had a recent diagnosis, it helps for them to see someone walking and talking and getting along and doing what they do. I'm sure you're a bit of an inspiration to some folk who might find themselves.
Yes, I do. I'm just sort of getting into that realm now.
Gotcha.
And coming back to Bermuda, I have to admit, when I was living in Bermuda before, I was not involved in, it would have been the Society for the Blind at that time.
Sure, yeah.
Unfortunately, I did have a bit of snobbery towards it. I thought it was a bit beneath me.
Got you, yeah.
And so that's not fair to them. But I did think that. I didn't want to here I was gainfully employed and people are making baskets.
Yeah,
thought,
I know.
no,
There
I'm
was
not
a
doing
different
that.
mentality about
Yeah.
what people were capable of in certain times, and you were certainly showing them, waving that flag like, hey, we can do this, and I've done
Yes.
it my whole life type thing. And perhaps it was folks like yourselves that were the initiative, the impetus to change the mindset of how folks with vision impairment can be helped and can continue to be productive members of society, which is what we want. I would assume it's really hard for folk getting a diagnosis of vision impairment, young or old, I would imagine. But, I just think it's necessary to create that community where people can come together and understand that it's not the end of the world, for one thing, right? Rome is not going to come grinding to a halt, at any time. And that there is, as positive an outlook as one wants to make the effort to put into it. Yes?
Well, I would say the Vision Bermuda now has really, really evolved to
Sure.
be quite a vibrant organization now. As I say, I was very much involved with CNIB
Sure.
in Canada, and I was actually a vision volunteer and actually led what they call peer support groups.
Got you. Yeah.
Which help people or new people who were just experiencing vision loss get used to vision
Sure.
loss,
Yeah,
because it
yeah,
is
yeah.
a journey.
It is.
I would imagine similar to the journey, sadly with cancer.
Sure.
There is a grieving process and so on and so forth, and you have to learn how to cope
Sure.
with it. So, I can see that I have, since I've been back, I've had the wonderful opportunity to get to know people like Phyllis,
Sure.
who works for Vision Bermuda, and a few other people. And I've met some of the Lions from the Lions Bermuda. They're
Sure.
also wonderful. And just getting to know, we have things now, and especially with cell phones. My journey has been, I'm old enough to have lived in a world without cell phones. And now with cell phones, we have a WhatsApp group, and everybody in that group is visually impaired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Isn't
isn't
that-
it cool
and
that
they-
you can
and they-
just do a little voice note
Yep,
and
that's
send
right.
it around to people?
It's amazing. So that isolation that you may have felt in the past
Sure.
is a thing of the past in a sense.
That's great. Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to Beacon House
Being open
being
very
open
soon.
again,
Very
and,
soon.
and all the various things that they have they
Yes.
have there.
Uh-huh. When before you left Bermuda, and maybe Theresa can help us, because I'm not sure. You don't what are our numbers like for vision loss here on the island as a percentage of population? Do we know? I'm not making you do math right now,
No, we
but
don't
I wonder
know.
if like Joanne, if when you were coming up, did you know other folks that were vision impaired, or was there a time where you knew there were 10 people in a room with you that were dealing with similar things, or not? Or is it more or less today? Do we know?
It's not. When I was growing up, it was not very common. I
Sure.
did know someone. I didn't know anyone in grade school.
Gotcha.
In high school, I knew of one individual who had vision loss as well, and her condition was not as severe as mine.
Got you.
And that was one out of high school. What, 200-300?
Probably,
people?
yeah. And
It's not very common.
You went to high school here?
Yes, I did.
And what was your experience like with vision loss in high school here?
Well, I have to say that my vision loss has been progressive. So
Sure.
when I was in high school, my vision was actually quite good.
Okay.
I definitely did not need a cane.
Okay.
I actually rode a moped.
Good for you.
The only evidence of vision loss that I had was my vision, not being able to see at night.
Oh, night
And-
vision. Yes. I
yeah,
do
no,
know
I
a
couldn't-
few people with night blindness. Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
But other than that, my vision was quite good, and it didn't really start to deteriorate until I went to university.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. And was the initial diagnosis of what was going on with you something like totally unexpected, or had you been aware that this was going to be progressive? How was your journey with that?
No, I knew from about the age of 4, my parents noticed that I couldn't see at night.
Gotcha.
And then when I went, I think the first time I was diagnosed was when I was in my teens.
Gotcha.
Outside of Bermuda.
Okay.
And I actually have something called RP for your listeners, retinitis pigmentosa.
Okay, we've talked about that, I think, a few times on the things that cause vision loss, and retinitis pigmentosa is one of them. Yeah. And so at this point, you said you have no peripheral vision. Can't see her feet, folks. Poor sight. But her feet are great. Just letting her know. Her feet are just fine. They are exactly like the rest of our feet. So no need to worry. But are there things like light and dark that you can still distinguish?
Oh, yes.
Such? Okay, good.
Yes. I would say I have about 20% vision right now. Okay. Prayerfully, I'll have more.
Okay. We're working on treatments and stuff, and maintaining the vision that you have, or not letting it get any worse. That's just awesome. Yeah. So we're back to talking a little bit about the long cane, Theresa, and that's something you say you sort of specialize in. It wasn't hard to convince Joanne after a little bit of discussion that it was a good thing for her? Was it hard to convince Nick? How is that with some of your other clients?
Yeah, luckily with Joanne and with Nick had really come to the realization that it would support him. And Joanne was halfway there anyway with the guide cane. So it was just showing Joanne that she would be better with a long cane. So, quite easy. But some clients that I see, you say long cane and immediately, no.
Really?
No.
It's a little bit of pushback there,
huh? Yeah, I'm not. I show that I'm vulnerable, that no, they won't. But, you work on people gently. And I normally, dare I give one of my little away, but what I normally do is say, well, why don't you just have a look at one? Why don't I just introduce you to the long cane? And we'll say, oh, all right then. And so I get one and I start to explain what it does and give them a mini lesson on what it is. And then they say, well, yes, and then they've only been doing it a few times, and they think, why have I always said no?
Yes, exactly, because
the benefit
the empowerment, is a good feeling, I would imagine, to not be trepidatious about where you're going. I would think would make all the difference for someone with vision impairment on whether they should take a step at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, one of my recent clients said that the reason that they decided okay with a long cane is because they got on a bus and the driver didn't realise they had visual impairment, and before they got to their seat the bus moved off and they fell on the floor.
Lost their balance, yes, absolutely.
And that's when they thought, okay, because I had spoken to them about the long cane before that, and that's when they thought, oh, okay, yes, I'm ready to have a look and give it a go. And of course the next time they went on the bus with the long cane,
everybody was so much more gracious. Yes.
So that's it. I think the hardest thing really for my clients to overcome is that if they're using the long cane in a busy area and somebody trips over it or knocks into you, or they always feel, the person with the long cane always feels it's their fault. And it's not.
No, of course not.
It's those of us that are busy talking on our phones or busy talking, not looking what's going on around them. And they can move out of the way. And so, so that to me is the hardest thing about teaching the long cane, is to empower the person that I'm teaching to stand in their power and not apologise because somebody's knocked into them.
It's not their fault. Exactly.
Yeah, it's not their fault. Yeah. So that's the thing for me. You might disagree there, Joanne.
No, I agree with you. Theresa, when we're doing our cane training, Teresa's saying, I'm always saying when somebody comes in front of me, I have the tendency to say, oh, sorry, and move to the side. And I must say that is one reason why perhaps I don't do the sweeping motion with the cane more prominently, because I'm thinking I'm going to hit somebody and they're going to be. They're
going to be upset with you.
They're going to be upset with me. And Bermuda sidewalks are fairly narrow on some streets.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but then since Theresa was saying to me, well, Joanne, you really should just be more aggressive and aggressive is not the right word. Aggressive is not the right word, but be more assertive.
Assertive. A little more polite, yes.
And what I mean by that is when I'm walking along and someone is in my way, say, "Excuse me," and they as soon as they say, "Oh, of course."
Yes,
Pardon me. Let me get out of your way.
And by getting out of somebody's way, you did hurt yourself, didn't you? So
yes, I did.
That's the
yes,
other
I
thing.
did.
You know, you don't need that. You don't want to be hurt just because you're getting out of somebody's way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, Joanne, we're glad you came back to Bermuda, and we're glad you came up here to chat with us today, because I think, Theresa's mandate is to, help everyone here with vision loss lead the best life, the most independent they want to be, and to thrive. And you look like you're thriving to me, babe, so just letting you know. You look like you're thriving. Her feet are great, just because she can't see them. All right? And I'm sure you'll just go from strength to strength. And I think your promotion of software applications for administrative purposes and things like that might go a long way to helping others who will say, I'll never get the hang of it. There's no way I'll be able to do that. That hearing someone, of your generation talk about how things have changed with Vision Bermuda compared to, what you dealt with as a youngster here before you left. I think that's going to go a long way to helping anyone who might have that diagnosis, that's going to lead to vision loss, because you don't necessarily have to have it be sort of, it's going to be life-changing, but not life-ending in any way, shape, or form. So I think that's marvelous.
If anybody ever wants to just have a chat, because I've heard of somebody recently that's been recently diagnosed, but they're not ready to come to Vision Bermuda. And I would say, just come and have a chat.
Sure.
You don't have to do it, you don't have to have any services.
There's no test at the end, folks. You're not going to get a demerit. No. It's all going to be fine.
Just come and have a chat with me. And, just, that's all.
Sure.
We can talk about the eye condition, or or just have a chat and just say hi. Mm-hmm. That's all. I'd just like to make contact with you. So please, whoever is out there that might be at the start of their journey, please get in touch.
Mm-hmm. So we've come to the end of our chat again, ladies. It goes so quickly, right? So we're looking forward to next month, and I know Theresa's going to let us know what our specific topic is, but all of us are putting out all those good vibes for Beacon House.
Yes, we're at the painting stage.
At the painting stage, folks. Yes. And we're going to be kitting it out with its technology and its furniture and everything very, very, very soon.
I've just had a delivery. I'm going to be setting up a low vision clinic, and I've just had a delivery today
of some of the equipment.
So, yep,
nice.
Some of the equipment. So yes, I'm very, very, very excited.
Awesome.
We are on the home stretch.
That's great to know. Anyone has any questions, you can call 292-3231, or you can send an email to volunteer@visionbermuda.bm. Theresa McMordie and Joanne Thain, thank you so much for hanging out with us this afternoon, and we wish you safe journeys with your long white cane, my friend, and so glad that one of your journeys was to come up here and chat with us. We do appreciate you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so very much. Thanks so much. Looking forward to the next one, the second Monday of every month from 6:15 right here on Ocean 89. You can hear Vision Bermuda. You can't say you didn't know, because we just told you all about it.
Ocean 89.